Sure. So lebrikizumab itself, not a new thing to the HCP live dermatology audience, a drug that hopefully is going to get approval any day now. That's a direct binder and blocker of IL-13, which is an important mediator for atopic dermatitis. So this was one of the many sub-analyses that came out of the phase 3 clinical trial program for lebrikizumab. In this case, this particular study was really trying to understand in the longer term period of week 16 to about week 52 in the overall maintenance dosing scheme, what was happening with itch and sleep. And the way that it went about this was from a patient perspective. And what we really wanted to understand is during the maintenance phase of treatment in the clinical trials, did individuals have a stable response to itch and sleep? Was this something that actually was staying the same over time? Was it getting worse? Was it getting better? And that was really the crux of the analysis. Yeah, so when utilizing this poem tool and looking at the specific questions about itch and sleep and really trying to narrow it down to people that had absent symptoms or sort of the mildest possible symptoms in those categories, it looked like there indeed was a very large chunk of patients that were able to get there when looking at the population that had a good response to the drug. And when you actually followed them over time, there wasn't a heavy degree of fluctuation in terms of people dropping in and out of doing well. And if anything, for the folks that really sort of made their way through the trial and stayed in, it was very consistent, if not even sort of as observed in a little bit of an increase too over that time period. So what this tells us is that in the early phase, after a few months of treatment, if you're doing pretty well, odds are that's going to be a very stable response. And that this doesn't extend only to what the skin looks like, but also the itch and sleep, which we know are oftentimes the major burden that our patients face. So bottom line, more evidence in the helpful pile when thinking about how lebrikizumab may really have a role for our patients with moderate to severe atopic dermatitis. I think in the case of lebrikizumab, we're excited to have another option for atopic dermatitis because we understand that the IL-13 molecule is a really validated one as far as a target goes for atopic dermatitis. And lebrikizumab has some really intriguing findings that puts it right along our other first-line biologic therapies, an option potentially for less frequent dosing for people who are responders. And perhaps the most intriguing part of this story, individuals that do pretty well on therapy when they're put on spaced out therapy or even discontinue on therapy, they seem to also do fairly well too. And so I think that there's a lot of questions we all have about what might be the possibility for long-term responses. But I mean, before we even skip to that step, there's so many patients that have uncontrolled moderate to severe disease, more treatments that have great response as far as lesions, itch, sleep, quality of life go are exactly what we need. So really just a win-win as far as what we can do for patients that are still in need.